Hi, Dave Roscoe here. So it's time for everybody to prepare for the storm. If you follow the trading news at all, this weekend has been a crazy one for stocks and crypto. With the economic uncertainty introduced by the current administration's tariffs, a lot of stocks are way down and cryptos go down with them, such as Bitcoin, which is down to $76 as of this morning, and Ethereum, which is down to 1.48 thousand, and expect that to continue today. There's not a lot of Pi news to talk about. I will be addressing some more user comments, and I also want to talk a little bit about PiDaoSwap. I'm just going to talk a little bit about it because I am planning on doing a deeper dive because quite a few people have asked for it. But before we get into everything else, let's take a look at the metrics. The current circulating supply is at 6.8 billion, which is up 10.5 million in migrated Pi in the last 24 hours. A slight dip from yesterday. Yesterday we had almost 15 million. In the last 24 hours, only 10.5 million. So a little bit of a slowdown there. We'll see how that goes today. The migrated unlocked rewards are at 1.734 billion, which is up 3.365 million unlocked Pi, which is now free to be traded on the open market. Looking at the price action, the Pi coin is currently trading at 56 cents with a market cap of 3.84 billion and a trading volume of 413.9 million, which is down 49.48% from this time 24 hours ago. And if you look at the price action, it's down and it's been a fairly steady decline. And you know what? You actually want to see that rather than these sharp dips like we saw very recently, because that just means that the selling pressure is matching the influx of Pi, and the people who were riding the wave of the spike are now just seeing that selling pressure kick in and push the price down. We don't want to see the price this low, of course, but I'd rather see this than a single candle that shows a huge decline. This is a much more controlled. So anyway, that's the price action for the day. I'd take a look at the ranking, but I don't think there's been any change on that. So we'll just leave that as is for now. Let's take a look at some user comments and I'll give you my take on them. This user says, I feel you did not address the comment well when answering the question why it took less than an hour to withdraw Pi, but it takes weeks to return to mainnet. We are relying on you as the most straight-talking Pi observer and analyst to give us at least a semblance of an answer on the strange activities of the Pi core team. And then he goes on to say that my hopes were dashed after Pi Day, where he thought he could open a node and mine at least 7 withdrawable Pi per month. And he was also returned to tentative. So the last part of that is so common, it's not even funny, right? Pi Day was a big nothing. Everyone had high hopes that there would be big news there, big things happening, but it was a dud. Other than announcing Pi Fest, which I think was also something of a dud because, a lot of merchants are now complaining about the variability in the price thanks to open mainnet. I'm not sure what next year's participation is going to look like. With regards to giving straight answers with regard to the strange behavior of the Pi core team, I don't know what makes you think I have any of those answers. I don't work for the Pi core team. They don't talk to me. We're not buds. We don't go out for drinks on Saturday nights. I have no idea what they're doing other than just what I see. And that's what I report on. I'm not sure what about my answer you didn't like. I made no falsehoods. If you don't like my answer, then that's fine. You don't have to like it. The fact of the matter is, recalling all of those migrations is as simple as a button push. once that script runs, everybody's Pi is back in their wallet. So it is a fast operation. With regards to going back into people's wallets, well, that's a little more complicated. They rolled out two-factor authentication. That was necessary because thousands, and I mean thousands, maybe even millions of people were not careful with their accounts, and they did not treat it with the proper reverence and respect. People's accounts were hacked because they used weak passwords and they fell for scams that fished for their wallet passphrases. Now, that's not the fault of the Pi core team. I'm not sure really why people are blaming them for this. Now, you can say that they could have put more protections in that a lot of other vendors do, and they could have been a little prescient on putting these measures in place to protect people. But at the end of the day, the protection of your account in your wallet is up to you. And it's not the Pi core team's fault. They pulled everything back. And like I said in my previous video, that was a good thing because otherwise a lot of people would have lost all of their Pi. And now they roll out two-factor authentication, which has to happen before the migrations can continue for these people. People are still going through this. So their Pi is not getting migrated. And in addition, there are still millions of people in the queue for migration. And as I said in my video, we have no indication that people who had their Pi recalled were given any special placement within the queue. If that's not the case, then they're back in the queue wherever they are, and that just is what it is. Okay, I'm not sure what better answer I could have given you, but it sounds to me like you just don't like the answer. You're shooting the messenger. This user says, "Hey Dave, your work and share is greatly appreciated." See, I love these comments. Rather than people complaining about my stuff, they tell me that I'm doing a good job, and who doesn't like to hear they're doing a good job? If Pi core team could be more forthcoming, they could use your service as a speaker. I agree. And a lot of other people have said the same thing. I'm open to offers, Pi core team, if you're listening, I could be your man. We understand they have a handicap in communication. I followed Rays United sometime, but it's a roller coaster of extremes. Now, let me tell you something about Ray. I love Ray. He's one of my go-tos for Pi News. But you're right. His content can be a roller coaster, and I'll tell you why. He takes a different approach to his Pi reporting than I do. He looks at everything, right? He looks at, what's good about Pi, what's bad about Pi, and he talks about it, right? And that's going to produce a roller coaster ride. So if you're weak in the stomach, then you're going to get a little motion sickness. But his content is really good. Me, on the other hand, I don't focus on the negative. And I've gotten called out on that a few times. My response is always the same. There's a ton of people out there bashing Pi. Everything that's wrong with it. And that creates the illusion that there's nothing good about it. Why do I have to join the crowd and bash Pi? I believe in the project. There's a lot of good. Is the execution great? No, it's not great. It's quite poor, actually. But we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. I see nothing to suggest that my faith should be shattered. So I maintain it, and I'm going to present my view of the Pi network and the Pi core team in the light that they intended it based on their vision and goals. That's it. I'm not as much of a roller coaster as Ray, but it's not a bad thing. He doesn't bash the Pi network. He just tells it like it is. And I like that. I find that very refreshing. Thanks for the comment. Now this commenter says, I just find out the core team stopped Binance listing because once you send to Binance, you can't send it back to your Pi wallet. All because of this two-man team don't want you to lose their damn control. Okay. First off, this is speculative nonsense. You just found out from who? From where? What is their pedigree? What's their source? Is it confirmed? Now, forget about all that. This statement doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Whether Pi goes to exchanges or can come off of exchanges doesn't matter at all to the Pi core team, right? The fact that it can right now is so that the Pi core team can work with its partners to develop its ecosystem to the fullest. People are using it to sell Pi. Guess what? All that Pi that's on the exchanges that you claim can't be transferred back were put there by users in the first place. Simple solution. Don't move your Pi to exchanges. The fact that you can't move it back has nothing to do with two people wanting to maintain control. Now, I've made it very, very clear that the Pi core team is very much in control of their network right now, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yes, they do aim to be fully decentralized, but that's not today. And the fact that you don't see headlines that they're being investigated by all these regulatory agencies means that they think it's okay too. And why do they think it's okay? Because they know the plan of the Pi core team, and they're giving them space to do this. So I'm getting really tired of people regurgitating rumors that are put out by other people that are just unsubstantiated and do nothing but spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Thanks for the comment. This gentleman says, I just noticed I wasn't subscribed. Keep it up, man. Thank you so much for your efforts and keeping us informed. Well, you are very welcome, and thank you for the subscription. And I imagine a lot of people are in the same boat. They watch my videos. Most of them like it, but they're not subscribed. So let's fix that right now. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. I'll wait. Do it now. If you don't like my humor, I apologize. And this gentleman says, not sure if it is relevant, but whenever I open the PiScan website, I first glimpse at the CEX balance. I noticed that when the price started going down, OKX had its Pi amount increased substantially over the course of 2 weeks by over around 40 million Pi. Now the amount has dropped by over 20 to 30 million Pi. Is this relevant to anything at all? Great question. And it's relevant to a lot of things. I just want to say that good on you for digging into PiScan. I think more people should be doing that and educating themselves on blockchain and how things work, because I think that would alleviate a lot of confusion and raise the right questions. Now, I've noticed myself that there are a lot of transactions between exchanges. And I'm not talking about traders. I'm talking about the exchanges themselves making transactions from their wallets to the wallets of other exchanges. And that seems like a weird thing to do. So I looked it up, and there are a lot of legitimate reasons why they would be doing this. And I won't go into all of them here. But to your point, it can be used to manipulate price. These transfers of Pi between the exchanges can create a false sense of volume on the markets, and it can also create a false sense of liquidity. And these two things can influence the behavior of traders, which then has an influence on the price. So yeah, you're very spot on. This could impact price. Whether it is in this case, nobody can really say. It's a common practice, and it can be done this way. Again, thanks for the comment. That's all I've got for the comments. So let's talk a little bit about PiDaoSwap. I don't know a lot about this app, but I do get quite a bit of requests to cover it, and I will. I'm currently going through their white paper. There's a lot in there that's a little beyond the reach of the crypto novice. So I'm going to try to distill it down to an easier to digest form, and then I'll do a video on it. Basically, PiDaoSwap is a decentralized exchange that's built for the Pi network. And it allows trading of the Pi coin and other coins without external manipulation by the centralized markets. DEXs are not immune to manipulation. It also allows the swapping of Pi coin for other cryptocurrencies within their exchange. This is a feature that a lot of exchanges have, but it's not available yet for Pi. And it allows you to swap one cryptocurrency for another without having an intermediate exchange or conversion. And that's great. I mean, I use this all the time for crypto, and that's a great thing to do. They're also working on allowing staking of PiCoin and others, which will be a good thing. And they're also doing a pre-sale for whitelist and public governance tokens. That's going on right now. And I won't go too much into it, but the governance tokens are a key part of how DEXs work. It allows the governance of the exchange itself to be decentralized and controlled by the community. And the way they do it is kind of like the way you get votes in a country's parliament or something, right? You represent a certain contingency and you get a vote, in this case, you have a token. It's very interesting. I don't know a ton about it, but I'm learning, and I will get you what I know as soon as I know it. Well, that's all I have right now. Sorry, it's a pretty slow news day, but if anything pops up, I'll be certain to let you know. But in the meantime, don't panic, stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.